Good morning, this is Jen, the Liberty Lion. Today I want to go over just some things on allodial title. This is not all-inclusive. This is just a couple of things I want to mention because I think that they're important. And when we talk about either allodial title or natural rights and things legal, and usually legal things are fictions, depends on how they're written, we're talking about two different types of things. So I have a book here, and the book is called Property Rights, Property in Land, an essay on the New Crusade by Henry Wynn, W-I-N-N, from 1888. Okay, so he says the principle on which allodial title seems to be founded is that when a man has taken a piece of land and blended it with his labor, it's sufficient for him to claim title. Now, title was a claim based on his natural right that he has improved the land or mixed his labor with the land. So whenever a man makes something, and when I say man, I mean women too, whenever someone puts their labor into something, they have a right to it. They have a natural right to it. Now, natural things are things that we find in nature, and man is from nature. And so man, for the most part, is in harmony with nature. And so when a man does something according to nature, he's under natural law. The natural law cannot be muted. It cannot be shut off. No man can make a law that's has any value to it when it is outside the natural law. So for anyone to come in and just take something that you have put your labor into would be against the natural law and therefore be unlawful. Now, some men will write it on a piece of paper saying that they can do that. And then because people are unaware that the natural law exists and that it's immutable, they don't fight it. And they think, oh, well, he has some kind of power, extra power where he can write things on paper and I have to just conform to them. So let's say a new person comes along and they want to take your land. And that's what it says in the book. He says there's no superior power from this new person to come along and just decide that he wants what's yours when you have done something to improve your property or your land. Okay, so the natural rights of a new person are not increased. Not even, he says, a hair's breadth. Okay, even if people have settled all around you and improved their property, that doesn't mean they can take your property. That you still have your natural rights no matter what. He has no right to rent, for no man can assess his natural due. The nature and natural law on his side can just shrug him off because he has no natural right to make you pay for something that's already yours. Sort of like property taxes. They write things on paper and they come along and they say, well, now you have to pay property taxes or we're just going to take your property away, because they wrote something on paper outside the natural law. And people just shrug and say, well, okay, well, I guess that's the law. But they forget that there's a higher law. A little examination would show that chaos would result if the tenant were compelled to give way to the intruder. So if a person is renting property from someone who owns the property and agrees to rent it, and then someone else comes along and just decides to take it, that's wrong also. That there would be chaos. And if someone is renting your property they can't turn around and make themselves the lord over the property, the landlord, because that would be making the tenant the owner. And there's law against that. That goes against natural law. So if you're renting your property and the renter improves the property, it doesn't matter if he's improved the property. It's not his property. It's still the owner's property. And the owner still has right to it. The rule of private title in land, which sends the newcomer to the free site, seems to be founded in nature. But in division, the land differs from the water, etc. So then we go to a dictionary where it talks about allodial title, or Allodian, A-L-L-O-D-I-A-L, and A-L-L-O-D-I-A-N, is free, or for which no rents or services are due. So if you've got property and you've improved on it, you don't owe anybody anything. It's free to you because you don't owe anybody anything, because you're not renting it. You're not a tenant. You're the owner. You're the property owner. Okay, so that's what allodial title is, at least to some extent, in this book that I'm reading, in this dictionary that I'm looking at. And by the way, this dictionary is an etymological dictionary from, I think, the 1600s. Let's look. (1763). And it is called A Universal Etymological English Dictionary, comprehending the derivations of the generality of words in the English tongue, either ancient or modern, from the ancient British, Saxon, Danish, Norman, and modern French, Teutonic, Dutch, Spanish, Italian, and also from the Latin, Greek, and Hebrew languages, each in their proper characters. And it goes on and on. The title's really long. So just so you know, in orthography is all the languages and how they come together to create the Anglo-Saxon, which creates the English language, the language that we use. And so you have to use them properly, because not all words of Latin, or not all words are Greek, or not all words of the Danish or Norman or Spanish are used in Anglo-Saxon, went to be used into Anglo-Saxon. Only some of them were. Some of them came into use and then fell out of use, and then some of them stayed, and some of them were used for medical terminology. Some of them were used for French terminology. So you have to put them in their proper place. Unless you're Sarah Palin and you just use whatever word you want. Okay, so that's my short video today on allodial title. Allodial title doesn't necessarily have to be written down. It can be something that is just claimed by way of your labor and your right, because your rights don't have to be written down. And you have rights to everything that you produce, and you have rights to everything that you put your labor into. And if you dig a piece of gold up out of the ground, you have rights to that. If you cut a tree down and you make a piece of furniture out of it and you trade it for gold and silver, you have rights to the gold and silver that you traded it for. Before you traded it, you had rights to the piece of furniture that you built. And there are no rights of someone, of anyone, of any entity to come along and tax your labor or what you own by natural right. No one can come up with a law, a Britain man's law, that mutes the natural law or the natural rights of men. And I think when people start understanding this, they'll understand what they stand on, and they stand on the natural law. So consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.